Do you want to learn how to draw this adorable Bob Ross? And while we doodle, we can learn some fun Bob Ross facts, because why not? I mean, what else are we going to do today besides draw this awesome man? If you want to doodle with me, you are going to need some paper to draw on. If I could grab a piece of paper, you are going to need some paper to draw on. You are going to need a pencil to create your doodle, an eraser to erase any mistakes that you might make, and a marker to outline your doodle with. Grab all of those supplies and let's get started. I hope that you guys are having a great day today. I am obsessed with Bob Ross. So I decided let's doodle a little cartoon Bob Ross today. And while we're doodling, I'm going to fill you in on a couple just awesome little tidbits about Bob Ross. Things that I learned not too long ago. And I just think they're really interesting if you've ever watched Bob Ross. So my paper is going to go vertical, which means that it's tall this way, but it's skinny this way. And we are going to start with kind of like that normal U shape that we use for most of our cartoon faces. So let's go ahead and make a nice U shape here. Very short. My line's a little wiggly. Okay, so that's going to be the bottom of his face. And I want it short because we want to get in his big poofy afro. So, fun fact number one about Bob Ross. He used to have a pet alligator. He kept an alligator in his bathtub as a kid. What? Where would you take a bath if you had an alligator in your bathtub when you were little? Did you just take a bath with the alligator? He grew up in Florida, so it makes a little bit of sense that he had an alligator in his tub, right? Florida has a lot of alligators. So this is kind of like a muffin right now. So I've got like the bottom of my muffin and all the puff up here for the top of my muffin. And I'm going to come in here with some bumpy lines also. And this is kind of like the sideburn area. And then I'm going to go straight across here with some smaller ones just for the top of his hair. So we've got like his nice big poofy afro. All right, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and do his facial hair. So we want his facial hair to be a little bit smoother than that afro. So I'm going to come right about here and make kind of a wiggly line. And this is just going to be like the top part of his beard. And I'm going to go ahead and give him his two eyes. Do one nice shine mark there at the top. Look at that. Oh, cute is he. All right, now down here, so this would kind of be his nose area up here. And a good chunk of my cartoons, I don't do noses. But we're going to come down in here and we're going to make kind of like a oval shape. But I'm going to leave the bottom part open. And I'm going to leave that open because I'm going to go ahead and add in just a little curve up for kind of the part of where his beard would kind of be on his chin. And then I'm going to go ahead and give him a small smile in there because this would be the part where his mouth is. So we've got our Bob Ross head. Now we're going to go ahead and draw in his body. So I'm going to go ahead and curve out and down. And this is going to be his body. So we still have his arm that's going to go in over there. And on this side, what I want to do is I'm going to have this arm holding a paintbrush, but I'm going to have this arm over here holding a paint palette. So I'm going to go ahead and do kind of a wiggly line here. Okay. And then I'm going to curve all the way down and around with kind of like a big oval or U shape and connect. So this is his paint palette. And I want it to be, if I drew the other curve line for his body here, I want it to be partially on where that curve would be. So that way it looks like he's holding it in front of him. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in that curved line. So this is part of his body over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in this one over here. And we're going to just, you know, imaginarily draw a line in there and come down. So now we've got his body shape here. So let's go ahead and add a curved line here for his shirt. And then we're going to add a line straight down here for his legs. And we can go ahead and connect on both sides here with some rounded for his legs. So these can be his pants. And this will be his shirt. And then we're going to come down. He always had that nice collared shirt on. So we're going to go ahead and add 2 V's or a very wide W to make up that collar. Now right here in the corner, I'm going to do a curved line, and this is his shoulder. And since he's holding the paint palette, we're going to do kind of an O shape for his hand. So this is his hand holding on to the paint palette. Now over here, we're going to do the curved line for his shoulder. We're going to go across for his shirt, and then we're going to finish into his hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a gap there because he's going to be holding a paintbrush. So I'm going to come down in this gap. I'm going to come straight down and into that area. So I'm going down into his hand. I'm going to make a curve. So it looks like his hand is wrapped around it. This is the stick of my paintbrush. So now I can go ahead and add kind of like a rectangle here on the top. And then coming out of that rectangle, I'm going to go straight up and add just a little squiggle across for his paintbrush. So now my little Bob Ross has his paintbrush. Let's add some paint splotches here to his little paint palette. And look at our little Bob Ross. I love him. I can't wait to color him. He's super cute. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our crayons so we can add color to this adorable little doodle. All right, so I am going to use my Crayola crayons here, my twistables, to color in my Bob Ross. Now, while we're coloring, I'm going to give you some more fun facts. So he had an alligator in his bathtub as a child. Totally crazy. Love it, though. He was also an Air Force Master Sergeant. So his voice, how he always talked in such nice, hushed, calming tones. Like I could fall asleep to listening to some Bob Ross because he's just so mellow. He actually used to be a very loud man who loved to yell. And I will say loved to yell, but he used to be quite the yeller. And you can't really be in the military. He was in the military for over 20 years in the Air Force. Can't really do that and be a quiet guy, right? I mean, he had to be a very bossy, loud man. Isn't that crazy just to think about how nice and peaceful Bob Ross came off for him to be such a tough man deep down? It makes me think of my dad. My dad was kind of he could scare you because he just came off so tough, but at the same time, he would cuddle a kitten. That's just kind of, some men are like that. So that's how Bob Ross was. Isn't that crazy just to think about how loud he could be when he was always paint that little cloud and he was so peaceful. So that's just an interesting fact for me. Let's see, what other cool facts do we have here? Oh, before he painted trees, he used to paint pans. How interesting. So he sold pans, gold colored pans that he would paint for $25 a piece back when he painted them. And that was when he was stationed in Alaska while he was in the Air Force. That is when he painted these pans and he would sell them. And he sold them for $25 a piece. Now, if you were lucky enough to get one of those pans and you still had it, or if you've just bought it over the years, they go now for $7,500 just on eBay. So that's pretty crazy. He used to do those for 25 bucks back before he was famous. Just some little side job there. Pretty cool. All right, let's see. He was inspired by an artist named Bill Alexander. So Bill Alexander used to have a PBS show, and PBS is the channel that you could watch Bob Ross on. And he was a German painter who used to host an art instruction show very similar to what Bob Ross did. And he was on that station for about 8 years on PBS doing his show for about 8 years. And when he retired, Bob Ross was then named as his successor to that medium, to doing the painting instructional channels. So that's pretty cool. Oh, this is my favorite one. This is my favorite little tidbit about Bob Ross. Now, I just found this out a few years ago. So his hair, he worked for PBS and he did not get paid. So this was free. He did this for free. He did not get paid. So haircuts through the station were expensive, and he didn't have the income to keep getting his hair cut for his show on PBS. So he made the choice to help save money to get a perm. And that is how he ended up with his little iconic fro here that we are coloring. Isn't that cool? So it was really just a money saver for him, was just to perm his hair to help save on haircuts. Isn't that like awesome? I love that. That tidbit itself is probably my favorite because that's what makes him so iconic. Like, you see, all you have to do is see the fro and the beard and you know it's Bob Ross. And that was not his natural look. That was a choice to save money for his show. Isn't that crazy? I love that. Love, 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 love. He absolutely hated his hairdo. He was not a fan of the fro, but he did it to save money. But in the end, it really is what makes Bob Ross, which is really, really, really cool. I absolutely love that. So he really hated it because his face was on products. As he got a little more fame, he didn't like having that froed picture of himself that you see on everything. He wasn't a big fan of that picture. He was a businessman and he didn't think that was professional, but it was an economic solution for him at the time. So it stayed, and that is pretty awesome in my opinion. So let's see what other friends. So he worked for free. I did mention that. He did a good chunk of his stuff at no cost, but he did make money off of art supplies. So he did have money coming in other areas, but not through his art, which is crazy when you think about it, because he's just such an icon, an art icon. So he always wore that blue shirt. So let's go ahead and give him that blue shirt. I think I'm going to make the triangles up there just a little lighter blue. And he always had on those blue jeans. He always looked like a construction worker to me, like somebody who was an architect maybe. He had the blue jeans, a nice button-down shirt. He reminded me of my dad. Okay, let's see. I love my little Bob Ross. Okay, so his show, The Joy of Painting, was actually also very popular in other countries as well, not just in the US. So he actually has some outside fame. I'm trying to find a lighter blue. Besides just the US, it was very popular in the UK, in Germany, and Belgium, Switzerland, South Korea, and Turkey. He was extremely popular in Japan, which is pretty cool. That's a very large population. It's pretty cool. So he was pretty much known across the world, if you look at it that way, which is pretty neat. Somebody who worked for free on a public broadcast station. That was like the only station I had growing up. You could probably ask your parents what PBS is and they'll probably tell you. I was not a kid who had cable growing up. My parents actually did not provide cable in the house until I left to go to college. You know, they loved me that way, trying to shelter me from the sins of cable. So we watched a lot of PBS, a lot of Arthur. My brother watched a lot of Arthur. Thomas the Tank Engine, all of those shows were PBS originally. There's his little jeans. Ah, I love my little Bob Ross. Okay, he needs a little shadow up here by his forehead, I feel. Especially with all that fro hair. My cousin was an artist. Well, he is an artist, but he had a little bit of a fro. He had that white guy fro. I love it. A big old poofy fro. Permed hair, don't care. Look at how cute. I'm loving him. Okay. So we've got the little paint palette still to do. All right, let's see. Trying to see what other fun things. Oh, his happy little comments were actually scripted. He wasn't just doing them on his own. That's kind of a little sad to me. I always just kind of thought that was his personality. So that's interesting. Interesting to know. He never painted people. It was very rare to find a portrait of any kind by Bob Ross. That's pretty interesting. He kept a tiny squirrel in his pocket. Oh my gosh, I love it. He kept a tiny squirrel in his pocket. So he had such a love for animals that his show would have kind of rotating squirrels in the cast. And he had a tiny little squirrel named Peapod that got a good majority of the airtime. And he often stayed in Bob Ross's pocket. Isn't that cool? I love these little tidbits of knowledge here. I'm gonna add a little shadow going around my little Bob Ross because I don't really want to do much on my little paint palette. I'm gonna add a little shadow there and a little shadow here. All right, so I think my brush, I'm just gonna add a little gray to my brush. And there we go. Look at how cute our little Bob Ross turned out. I love it. So let's see a couple more little tidbits. So not many of his viewers actually painted with him. They just enjoyed watching. Only about 10% of his viewers actually painted while he painted. He did love trees. He actually planted several trees. And he always referred to those trees as friends on the show. His son is actually also an artist. I did know that. He made 3 copies of each painting that he did on the show. Oh my goodness. So he shot 403 episodes. He made 3 exact copies of each painting per episode. First copy was always off screen. And he would see it, look at it, and refer to it while recording. The third copy he would do when the filming was finished. And that way they could take pictures of him painting for promotional purposes. Wow, that's crazy. Awesome, I love it. Oh my gosh, Nintendo had planned a series of Bob Ross video games. That would be so fun. Unfortunately, it ran into a production problem early on, so we will never know. That would have been really cool. They should have one with a bunch of different artists. The joy of painting is great for people that have sleeping problems because of his soothing voice. That's definitely true for sure. Oh, I love it. So if you had fun doodling with me today, our little Bob Ross, and learning some fun facts about Bob Ross, please like, subscribe, and share the video, and come back again. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.